The courtroom freezes the moment she walks in, heels clicking like she owns the world. She doesn't wait to be addressed. She lifts her chin, stares straight at Judge Judy, and says the line that rips the air out of the room: "The law does not apply to people like me." Gasps ripple through the audience. Even the bailiff shifts. Judge Judy doesn't flinch. She leans forward, eyes razor sharp. And in that silent, electric moment, everyone knows the real showdown is about to begin. Before we jump in, tell me, where are you watching from? And don't forget to hit that subscribe button. The echo of her declaration still vibrates through the room when Judge Judy finally moves. No raised voice, no dramatic gesture, just a slow, deliberate lean forward, the kind that tells everyone the temperature is about to change. The defendant keeps her chin lifted, soaking in the attention like stage lights belong to her. Her posture radiates entitlement, shoulders back, lips curved, eyes fixed on the judge with the confidence of someone who has never faced a real consequence. The courtroom watches her, a collective held breath wrapped inside four wooden walls. Judge Judy studies her the way a surgeon studies a wound before deciding where to cut. The lighting overhead is harsh, almost unforgiving, casting sharp brilliance on the defendant's glittering jewelry. Every shimmer seems to pulse with arrogance. "Is that so?" Judge Judy says. The words are soft, but they land like stone. A faint murmur ripples across the gallery. Even the bailiff shifts, boots scraping lightly against the floor. But the defendant? She smiles wider, as if she's waiting to be applauded for her boldness. Narration slips in quietly, framing the moment. Some people walk into court looking for justice. Others walk in expecting worship. She is unmistakably the second kind. The plaintiff stands to the side, clutching a stack of documents so tightly the edges curl. She does not speak yet. Her presence is smaller, almost dimmed beside the defendant's theatrical glow, but there's something steadier in her eyes, a quiet resolve that hints she has stories worth listening to. Judge Judy glances toward her, then back at the defendant. "Before we go any further," she says, "I would like to understand why you believe the law does not apply to you." The defendant laughs softly, the kind of breathy, superior laugh only money can teach. "Because," she says, "people like me do not get tangled in childish disputes." A collective exhale sweeps the room. Disbelief, irritation, a touch of shock. The plaintiff's knuckles whiten, Judge Judy's eyes sharpen. "Childish," the judge repeats. It is not a question. It is a quiet assessment, a needle sliding beneath skin. The defendant lifts her chin again, triumphant. But the camera, if this were a courtroom drama, would catch the slightest flicker at the corner of her mouth, a tiny, involuntary twitch. The very first sign that underneath all that glittering certainty, a hairline fracture exists. Judge Judy reaches down and lifts a folder from the bench. It is simple, unadorned, the opposite of the defendant's vanity. The paper inside rustles like an omen. "You have seen this before, I assume," she says. The defendant's smile falters, barely, but enough for the room to see. Judge Judy places the folder on the desk between them. "And if you have not," she says, her voice steady as steel, "you are about to." The folder hits the bench with a soft thud, but the impact lands hardest on her face. Her smile freezes. The room senses it, the first real fear trembling beneath all her gold and perfume. Judge Judy does not open the folder yet. She lets it sit there, a quiet threat resting on polished wood. The defendant watches it the way someone watches a fuse burn toward an explosive, trying to pretend she is not worried, while every muscle betrays her. Narration widens the lens. In every courtroom, truth arrives long before it is spoken. Sometimes it arrives in the eyes, sometimes in the shaking hands, sometimes in a folder. The plaintiff steps forward, clutching her documents against her chest like a shield she has carried too long. A deep breath steadies her. Judge Judy nods gently, granting silent permission. "Tell me," the judge says, "what started all this?" The plaintiff's voice trembles at first, not from weakness but from the exhaustion of being ignored for so long. She explains how the defendant used her wealth to intimidate, manipulate, and erase boundaries. Not in dramatic ways, in small, grinding ways that stack like bricks around a person's life. The defendant scoffs loudly. "This is ridiculous," she mutters. "She is exaggerating. I barely know her." Judge Judy raises a hand. The defendant goes silent instantly, a silence sharper than any reprimand. "Let her speak," the judge says. The plaintiff continues. She describes the unpaid debt, the broken promise, the sudden shift from friend to adversary when money became involved. Her words are simple, but they carry the weight of someone who has finally stopped making excuses for another person's cruelty. The defendant laughs again, a brittle, defensive sound. "She is obsessed," she says. "People like her cling to people like me." This time, the room reacts. A soft gasp, a murmur. Even the bailiff's eyebrow lifts a fraction. Judge Judy's gaze cuts through the noise. "You seem very comfortable dismissing people," she says. The defendant flips her hair, crossing her arms tightly. "Only the ones who waste my time." Narration guides the camera closer. Her posture grows sharper, more guarded. Confidence is no longer effortless. It is armor she straps on with shaking fingers. Judge Judy taps the folder lightly with one fingertip. "This," she says, "is not a waste of time." The defendant's lips part, but no words come. A rare pause. A real one. "What is in there?" she asks finally, voice quieter than she intends. Judge Judy tilts her head, studying her. "If your story is true," she says, "you should have no fear of what I'm about to show." The defendant swallows hard. Her eyes drop, for the first time, to the folder she spent the last 10 minutes pretending did not matter. Judge Judy slides the folder toward her. "Go on," she says. "Tell the court why your signature appears on a document you claim you never saw." She reaches for the folder, but her fingers hesitate mid-air. A moment ago she commanded the room. Now the room watches her unravel in real time. The defendant finally touches the folder as if it might burn her. Paper rustles under her hands. A sound too loud in the sudden hush. Her jaw tightens. Her breathing grows shallow. Even her earrings seem to sway with a nervous tremor she cannot control. Judge Judy waits, not impatient, not indulgent, just waiting, the way truth waits. The defendant opens the folder. Her eyes flick across the first page, and something inside her freezes. Narration sinks closer, like a camera tightening its zoom. This is the moment arrogance always fears, the moment it meets evidence. The plaintiff watches quietly, fingers woven together to keep from shaking. She's been waiting for this exact shift, not revenge, not triumph, validation. Judge Judy leans back slightly. "You recognize your signature?" she asks. The defendant's lips part, then close again. Her throat moves in a slow, difficult swallow. It looks like mine," she says carefully, trying to keep her tone even. But her voice betrays her, wobbling just enough to expose the truth she's trying to outrun. "It does not just look like yours," Judge Judy says. "It is yours." The defendant blinks too fast. A defensive smile trembles on her mouth, but it never fully forms. Her posture tightens. She crosses her legs, uncrosses them, then folds her arms in front of her chest like a shield she desperately needs. Narration catches the emotional shift like a still photograph. Confidence, once effortless, now requires effort, and effort cracks. The plaintiff steps forward instinctively, then stops herself. Her voice is soft, almost apologetic when she says, "You gave me that document yourself. You remember you did." The defendant's head snaps up. "No, I did not. I would never," but she cannot finish the sentence. The paper on the bench says the part she is too afraid to. Judge Judy taps the page. "You were at the property on the date listed. You signed this agreement, and you told the plaintiff you would follow through." "I never said that," the defendant whispers, but the conviction is gone. Her words collapse the moment they appear, flimsy and hollow. The room feels smaller now, the air denser, like the walls are leaning in to witness the slow fracture of a woman who believed she was untouchable. Judge Judy studies her silently, the kind of silence that exposes more than questions ever could. Then the judge reaches for another document beneath the first. The defendant's breath catches. Visibly, Judge Judy slides the new paper forward with surgical calm. "This," she says, "places you somewhere you claim you never were. Would you like to explain that to me now?" She sits up too fast, too sharply, as if the paper Judge Judy slid forward has teeth. The audience leans in, Something in her eyes flickers, not anger this time, something closer to exposure. Judge Judy does not move, does not rush, does not fill the silence she expertly created. She lets the defendant sit there, hands trembling against the page she's trying not to touch. The courtroom becomes painfully quiet. Even the fluorescent lights seem to dim, as though they know a truth is about to walk in. The defendant finally forces herself to look. Her eyes skim the header, the date, the location, and then her breath stumbles. A microscopic inhale, but enough for everyone to see. Narration moves in. The strongest lie is never the one spoken aloud. It is the one a person believes they can keep buried until someone digs exactly where it hurts. "This is wrong," the defendant blurts suddenly. The words are rushed, brittle. "This is a fake. Someone is trying to set me up." Judge Judy raises a single eyebrow, the judicial equivalent of a thunderclap. "A fake," she repeats, and yet the handwriting analysis says otherwise. The defendant freezes again. Her throat tightens visibly. Her eyes dart around the room, landing anywhere except on the plaintiff, on the judge, on the truth. Meanwhile, the plaintiff stands still, her documents held against her chest like a truth she has carried alone for far too long. There is no triumph in her expression, just exhaustion and quiet relief that someone finally sees through the performance. Judge Judy takes the page back, not tearing it from the defendant, but reclaiming authority with a soft, deliberate motion. "According to this document," she says, "you were at the plaintiff's property on the date you swore, under oath, that you were out of state." "I was," the defendant insists, but her voice has gone thin, threadbare. "I have receipts. I was traveling. I have pictures." "Pictures," Judge Judy repeats calmly, "which you submitted to the court." The defendant nods vigorously, desperate to rebuild even a scrap of her crumbling narrative. Judge Judy taps the corner of the paper. "And yet," she says, her tone sharpening like a needle, "this record shows your arrival time, down to the minute." The defendant inhales sharply, panic bleeding through the last of her composure. Her hands flatten against the desk. She looks smaller now, the confidence that once filled the room shrinking around her like a deflating balloon. Narration captures the shift. Arrogance collapses quietly at first, a blink, a breath, and then it falls all at once. The plaintiff finally speaks, voice steady. "You were there. We spoke. You looked me in the face." The defendant shakes her head, too quickly, too desperately. No, that's impossible." Judge Judy leans in, not aggressively, just enough to make the truth unavoidable. "It is not impossible," she says. "It is documented." The room goes still again. Judge Judy flips the page over. On the back is a second photograph, time-stamped, clear, and devastating, showing the defendant standing beside a person she claimed she had never met. Her breath snags before her words do. For the first time, she looks like someone who has run out of script, and the courtroom feels it. The defendant jerks her gaze away from the photograph, as if refusing to look might undo its existence. Her hands flutter uselessly, smoothing her hair, adjusting her bracelet, doing anything except facing the truth printed in glossy permanence. Judge Judy watches her without blinking. "Do you still claim," she says, each word slow and precise, "that you were never at that property?" The defendant's eyes dart wildly, to the audience, the cameras, the ceiling, anywhere but the bench. Her voice tumbles out fast, desperate, the polished edges gone. I do not know who took that picture. People follow me. They obsess over me. Anyone could have photoshopped." "Nothing is photoshopped," Judge Judy interrupts, tone flat as a closing door. Narration sharpens the focus. "This is the panic of a woman who has lived entire years untouched by consequences and now finds herself drowning in them." The plaintiff stands steady, spine straight, eyes soft but unwavering. She does not interrupt. She does not gloat. Her composure itself is a contrast, a quiet truth beside a loud lie. "You told us," Judge Judy continues, "that you have never met the individual standing next to you in this photograph." The defendant forces out a laugh, thin, shaky, artificial. "Well, maybe they approached me. I meet hundreds of people. You cannot expect me to remember every random." "You are looking directly at them," the judge replies. "And smiling." The defendant's face drains. Her mouth opens, then closes again, trembling like it cannot decide which lie to reach for next. Narration zooms in emotionally. Confidence is not gone, but it is fighting for its life. And panic makes terrible choices. The defendant suddenly snaps, "This is a setup. She wants to ruin me. She is jealous because I have worked hard for what I have." The plaintiff's eyes glisten, not with anger, but with hurt. "You never worked with me," she says quietly. "You worked against me." Even the bailiff shifts closer, sensing the escalation. Judge Judy's hand comes down lightly on the bench. Enough. The single word slices through the air. The defendant goes rigid, like her body instinctively knows this is not a fight she can scream her way out of. "You are spiraling," Judge Judy says evenly. "And spiraling will not save you." The defendant presses her palms flat against the desk, leaning forward, voice cracking through a last thread of bravado. "You do not understand the pressure I am under. People expect things from me. They expect perfection. They expect the truth," the judge cuts in. "And so do I." The room holds still. The defendant's eyes glisten, not with remorse, but frustration that her usual tactics are failing. Judge Judy reaches for another sheet of paper. She slides it forward, her expression unreadable. "This," she says softly, "is where your story begins to fall apart completely." Her hands tremble first, a tiny, involuntary shake she tries to hide beneath the desk. But Judge Judy sees everything, and silence sharpens around them like a blade. The defendant's breath comes faster now, shallow and uneven, as if the truth itself is stealing her oxygen. The courtroom feels smaller, the air heavier, the walls inching closer with every second she refuses to acknowledge reality. Her earlier glamour, the jewelry, the posture, the arrogance, seems to wilt under the fluorescent lights. Judge Judy places the next document on the bench with deliberate calm. "This statement," she says, "contradicts every word you have told me so far." The plaintiff steps forward again, but she does not look at the defendant. She keeps her eyes on the judge, grounding herself in the steadiness of someone who has been waiting far too long to be believed. Her voice is firm but gentle when she speaks. "She promised she would fix the damage. She promised me she would make it right." The defendant snaps her gaze up. "I never promised anything. I told you, people twist my words. They always twist my words." The gallery murmurs. Someone exhales sharply. Even the bailiff's shoulders tense, sensing the spiraling chaos. Judge Judy lifts a hand, quieting the room instantly. "You say people twist your words," the judge replies, "and yet every document, every record, every timestamp suggests the opposite, that you twist theirs." The defendant flinches as if struck. Narration moves in close, like a slow zoom onto cracking glass. Pressure reveals who a person truly is, and she is breaking, not loudly, but in sharp, splintering pieces. Her voice shakes when she tries to defend herself. "You do not understand my life. You do not understand what it is like to be expected to handle everything. People depend on me. They watch me. They wait for me to slip." "You slipped," Judge Judy says softly. "And now we are examining the fall." The defendant blinks rapidly, her mascara smudging at the corners. She tries to gather herself, to rebuild her composure, but the pieces keep slipping through her fingers. She shifts her gaze to the plaintiff. A mistake. Because the plaintiff does not look angry anymore. She looks tired, tired of pretending everything was fine, tired of being dismissed, tired of carrying the weight of someone else's entitlement. Her testimony, when she speaks, is steady but heartbreaking. "All I wanted was fairness, not favors, not money, just fairness." The defendant looks away first. Judge Judy leans forward, voice edged with steel. "This is your last opportunity to tell me the truth. Not the polished version, not the curated version. The truth." The defendant's breath catches. Her fingers curl into fists. Her eyes shine with something she has fought all day to suppress, fear. She leans in, voice barely audible. "There is something I need to say." The courtroom holds its breath. The defendant's whisper fractures into silence, and Judge Judy motions to the bailiff to bring forward a sealed envelope with her name on it. Her whisper hangs in the air like something fragile and dangerous. Judge Judy's gaze sharpens. The defendant swallows, once, twice, as if the truth is stuck in her throat. She glances at the sealed envelope, her name written across it in bold letters. The handwriting alone seems to rattle her. She shifts in her seat, adjusting her posture the way someone does when their armor starts pinching instead of protecting. Her breath trembles at the edges. The courtroom senses it, the slow, painful unraveling of a woman who built her life on polished lies. Judge Judy taps the envelope lightly. "You began to say something. Go on." The defendant opens her mouth, but only a brittle exhale escapes. Her eyes drop to the floor. When she finally speaks, her voice is too soft, too thin to carry the confidence she once flaunted. I did not mean to lie," she says. A murmur ripples through the audience. Her shoulders tense. Narration zooms in. A lie does not break because it is disproven. It breaks because the liar can no longer carry its weight. Judge Judy tilts her head. "You did not mean to lie," she repeats, not challenging yet, just observing. "Then what exactly did you mean to do?" The defendant grips the edge of her podium. Her knuckles fade pale. I just wanted this to go away. I wanted her to stop." She jerks her chin toward the plaintiff, whose eyes widen, not with anger, but with hurt she can no longer hide. "Stop what?" the judge asks. The defendant's breath stutters. "Stop making me feel like a bad person." The words land with an unexpected heaviness. Even the bailiff shifts, gaze flicking to Judge Judy as if waiting for the next blow. The plaintiff speaks gently, voice trembling but sincere. "I never wanted to make you feel like anything. I just wanted you to do what you said you would." The defendant squeezes her eyes shut, one tear slipping free before she can swipe it away. "You do not understand," she mutters. "People look at me and expect perfection. They always expect perfection. I cannot be the person they want unless I embellish a little." "Embellish," Judge Judy echoes, the word cooling instantly. "Is that what you call lying under oath?" The defendant recoils again, as though each syllable slices through another layer of her facade. Narration reflects her crumbling state. Her arrogance is gone, her bravado shattered. Now all that remains is the shaky core she has spent years hiding. The judge gestures toward the unopened envelope. "Inside this is information that will clarify the truth. Before I open it, you have an opportunity to speak honestly." The defendant's lips tremble. I do not know what you have." Her voice cracks. "And that scares me." Judge Judy's silence falls like a verdict in itself. The defendant's breathing grows rapid, uneven, panic bleeding through. Suddenly, she blurts out, "I was not even there that day. I swear it. The picture must be mistaken." The courtroom reacts immediately, gasps, shifts, a sharp intake of breath from the plaintiff. Judge Judy lifts one finger. "Be very careful," she warns, "with what you choose to say next." The defendant freezes mid-sentence. The judge nods to the bailiff. He breaks the seal on the envelope, and inside is the one piece of evidence the defendant never imagined anyone could obtain. The envelope opens with a slow, surgical tear, and the defendant's entire body reacts before she even sees what is inside. A shiver, a flinch, a breath caught in the wrong place. The bailiff pulls out a single USB drive and a printed transcript. The defendant's face drains instantly, her panic now unmistakable. Judge Judy places the drive on the bench with the same calm finality one uses to set down a verdict. "You told this court," Judge Judy begins, voice steady and lethal, "that you were not present, that you did not meet anyone, that the photograph was misleading." The defendant nods rapidly, too rapidly, like someone drowning who hopes a lie can become a life raft. Judge Judy lifts the transcript. "This," she says, "is the security report from the neighboring property." The defendant's breath hitches hard. Narration closes in like a tightening camera. Arrogance collapses loudly. But truth? It takes its time. The judge continues, unfazed by the defendant's unraveling. "The cameras captured not only your arrival and departure, but your interaction with the plaintiff, every step, every word." The gallery exhales in collective shock. The defendant shakes her head, eyes wide, mascara smudging into frantic shadows. "No, the angle must be wrong. I swear I was not." But Judge Judy is already reading. Her voice slices through the room. 8:42 a.m. Defendant arrives, 8:44 a.m. Defendant engages in verbal argument with plaintiff, 8:47 a.m. Defendant hands plaintiff a document to sign. The defendant's mouth falls open. She is no longer arguing. She is unraveling. The plaintiff covers her mouth with one trembling hand. The moment is not triumphant for her. It is painful relief. Judge Judy looks up from the transcript, gaze razor sharp. "You insisted this court was being misled," she says, "but it appears you were the one misleading us." Something inside the defendant snaps, not loudly, but visibly. Her shoulders collapse inward, her breathing falters. Her eyes, wild, lost, search the room for an escape that does not exist. I did not know there were cameras," she whispers. A silence follows, not empty, charged, the kind that hums with irreversible truth. Narration deepens the moment. Power has shifted, not with shouting or chaos, but with evidence so clean it strips every lie to the bone. Judge Judy leans forward. "You lied under oath. You fabricated your story. You attempted to character assassinate the plaintiff, and you believed your status protected you." The judge pauses, her silence heavier than any gavel. It does not. The defendant crumbles, one shaking hand pressed to her forehead. Her voice is barely audible. What does the video show?" Judge Judy's eyes do not soften. They do not blink. "It shows," she says, "everything." The courtroom holds its breath. The bailiff steps forward, plugs the drive into the court monitor, and the first frozen frame appears, the defendant's face, mid-argument, undeniable and crystal clear. The frozen frame glows on the monitor, her face captured mid-lie, mid-argument, mid-denial. She stares at her own image as if it belongs to someone else, and for the first time all day, her voice refuses to obey her. Judge Judy lets the silence thicken. She knows the truth lands hardest when no one tries to soften it. The defendant's eyes stay locked on the screen, widening with every pixel of undeniable reality staring back at her. Her breath comes in small, uneven pulls, as though each inhale requires permission she no longer has. Narration eases in, slow, deliberate. When a lie finally meets its reflection, something inside the liar collapses, not loudly, but permanently. The bailiff presses play. The courtroom fills with the defendant's recorded voice, sharp, entitled, dismissive. Even the room seems to recoil as the audio pours through the speakers. The plaintiff closes her eyes briefly, the memory resurfacing in full color. Her hands grip each other tightly, knuckles pale from the weight of old hurt. The defendant covers her mouth with a shaking hand. "Turn it off," she whispers. It is not a command this time, it is a plea. Judge Judy does not turn it off. They watch as the defendant, on video, steps toward the plaintiff, paper in hand, frustration boiling into cruelty. The tone is unmistakable. The intimidation is clear. The threat, subtle but deliberate, echoes through the courtroom like a bruise resurfacing. The real defendant shakes her head violently. That is not how it happened." Judge Judy responds with nothing but a raised eyebrow, the quiet kind of disbelief that cuts deeper than shouting. "Would you like to explain," she says, "why the video contradicts every part of your testimony?" The defendant tries to speak, but her throat closes. A squeak escapes instead of a sentence. She swallows hard, blinking rapidly as her world, the one built on image, privilege, and performance, begins collapsing in slow, exquisite detail. Narration zooms in. This is not regret. This is exposure, and it terrifies her. The plaintiff opens her eyes, staring at the woman who once dismissed her pain as childish. Her voice trembles as she speaks. "This is what I lived through. This is what she did to me." The defendant's lip quivers. Her shoulders sag. Her throat works through a painful swallow that seems to drag her pride down with it. Finally, she forces out a barely audible whisper. "I did not know it looked like that." The entire courtroom freezes. Judge Judy leans in, voice soft but immovable. Truth does not care how it looks. It only cares that it is. The defendant closes her eyes. A tear escapes, the first honest thing she has shown all day. Judge Judy turns off the screen. She folds her hands, and with her voice low and surgical, she says, "Now tell this court why you lied." Do you think remorse should erase guilt? Or does justice demand truth no matter what? The moment Judge Judy says the word lied, something inside her snaps, not loudly, but visibly, like a hairline fracture finally giving way. The defendant's chest rises and falls in quick, uneven bursts, panic sharpening every breath. She grips the sides of the podium so tightly her knuckles blanch, as if holding on physically might keep the truth from dragging her under. Her eyes dart across the room, to the monitor, to the plaintiff, to Judge Judy, searching for an escape that does not exist. Narration narrows in like a camera zoom. This is not the performance of someone trying to win. This is the unraveling of someone trying not to drown. Judge Judy does not speak yet. Silence does the work for her. The plaintiff stands small but steady, hands clasped in front of her, the quiet anchor in a storm that is no longer hers to control. The video still glows faintly on the darkened monitor behind them, a ghostly reminder of what cannot be denied. The defendant's voice cracks on the first word. I did not mean for it to go this far. Her breath stutters again, breaking in the middle. I thought if I said it confidently enough, if I stood my ground, no one would question me. Judge Judy's eyes sharpen, but her tone stays calm. People question the truth when it does not feel true, but they question a lie when it falls apart. The defendant's whole body sags. I just wanted her to stop making me look bad. The plaintiff flinches, a small, wounded reaction. Judge Judy locks eyes with the defendant. This was never about how you looked. It was about what you did. The defendant's composure finally fractures. A sound escapes her, part sob, part gasp, the emotional equivalent of glass splintering on impact. Her shoulders curl inward, each breath trembling through her like she's fighting gravity. Narration deepens the emotional lens. Collapse is not one moment, it is a series of small surrenders, posture, voice, certainty, pride, falling away one by one. I thought I could control it, the defendant whispers. The story, the outcome, the truth. She wipes her face with the back of her hand, smearing her makeup into streaks. People always believe me. They always have. Judge Judy leans forward, her voice a quiet scalpel. Not today. The defendant squeezes her eyes shut, as if that might erase everything. The video, the lies, the person she sees on the screen. But the air in the courtroom has shifted. No more performance, no more polished arrogance, only consequences. Her voice shakes as she asks, "What happens now?" Judge Judy does not answer immediately. Instead, she reaches for the envelope again. The defendant's breath freezes mid-inhale. You told us, Judge Judy says carefully, that you lied to protect yourself. The defendant nods, barely. Judge Judy lifts another sheet, one the defendant has not seen. But what if the lie was never meant to protect you at all? The defendant's eyes snap open. Judge Judy lays the new document flat and says, "This is the part of the story you have not admitted yet." The document lies between them, silent but alive, and she stares at it as if it contains her undoing. Her pulse is visible now, fluttering at her throat like a trapped bird. Judge Judy waits. The defendant's fingers hover over the page but do not touch it. She pulls her hand back, then reaches forward again. As if torn between two selves, the one she pretends to be and the one she has spent years trying to bury. Judge Judy finally speaks. This document was submitted anonymously, but it contains details only someone very close to you would know. A tiny sound escapes the defendant, a gasp or a swallow. It's impossible to tell. Her eyes dart to the gallery, scanning faces, searching for a familiar threat. Narration narrows in emotionally. A lie cracks from pressure. A life cracks from truth. And she is standing on the fault line of both. The plaintiff watches with a mixture of confusion and concern. She looks as though she's witnessing a different trial now, one she never knew she was part of. Judge Judy lifts the paper. This is a statement from a former associate, someone who saw the argument. Someone who watched what happened before you arrived at the plaintiff's property. The defendant's breath falters. "No," she whispers. "No one knew. No one—" Judge Judy continues anyway. It explains why you were furious before you even reached her door, why you pushed the blame onto her, why you created a story that made her the villain. The defendant's eyes well with tears, spilling over despite her attempt to blink them back. Her voice emerges broken, stripped of every ounce of arrogance. I was angry at someone else. A ripple moves through the courtroom. Judge Judy's expression doesn't change. She saw this coming. Who? She asks. The defendant swallows hard, lips trembling. My sister, she says finally. We fought that morning. I failed her, and instead of facing it, she chokes on the confession. I went to the plaintiff's house already boiling over. I needed somewhere to put the anger, and her voice collapses. She was the easiest target. The plaintiff inhales sharply, her eyes softening despite everything. Judge Judy's tone remains steady, but the gravity in her voice deepens. So you lied, not to protect yourself, not to win, but because you could not face the real source of your guilt. The defendant cries openly now, shoulders shaking, mascara streaking down her cheeks. I know what I did. I know I hurt her, and I hated myself even more for it. So I created a version of events that made me right. Narration tightens like a final close-up. This is the moment the mask dies, not from force, from exhaustion. Judge Judy places the document back on the bench. You weaponized your pain against someone who did not deserve it. The defendant nods, trembling. I know, and I cannot take it back. The courtroom is silent. No judgment, no whispers. Just the weight of truth settling into place. Judge Judy folds her hands and asks, Then tell this court what you'll do now that you finally admit who you truly hurt. Her confession still hangs in the air like smoke. No one speaks, not even Judge Judy, and that silence is the loudest judgment of all. The defendant stands there trembling, mascara streaking down her face in crooked rivers. She wipes at her cheeks, but the smudges only smear further, turning her polished facade into something raw, almost unrecognizable. The courtroom that once fed her ego with its attention now feels like a mirror reflecting everything she never wanted to see. Narration softens, slowing the rhythm. When a lie collapses, it does not fall outward. It falls inward, crushing the person who carried it. The plaintiff watches her, not with triumph, but with something far heavier, empathy she never expected to feel. Her arms hang loosely at her sides, documents forgotten, eyes reflecting the ache of realizing the harm done to her was never truly about her at all. Judge Judy finally leans back in her chair, fingers steepled, her voice calm but edged with a gravity that settles into the bones of the room. You did not hurt her because she wronged you, she says. You hurt her because she was close enough to receive the pain you were too afraid to confront. The defendant's chin trembles as she nods, tears dripping freely now. I know, she whispers. I know that now. There is no arrogance left in her voice, no entitlement, just a hollow understanding, the realization that she built her identity on control, and the moment she lost control, everything inside her cracked. The plaintiff steps forward, her voice barely above a whisper. You could have told me. You could have asked for help or space or anything. You didn't have to choose cruelty. The defendant's face crumples. I didn't know how to be honest, she admits, not with her, not with myself. Narration deepens the emotional lens. This is the quiet devastation, not the crash of a fall, but the ringing aftermath. Judge Judy nods slowly. Pain does not justify destruction, and guilt does not erase responsibility. The defendant nods again, closing her eyes as if bracing for impact. I want to fix it, she says. I don't know if I can, but I want to try. Her voice is stripped of performance now, just a woman standing in the ruins of her own illusion, finally willing to see the damage she caused. Judge Judy studies her for a long, measured moment, then she turns to the plaintiff. Justice, the judge says softly, is not about punishment alone. It is also about restoration. The plaintiff inhales shakily, the weight of the moment pressing into her. For the first time, she is not speaking against the defendant. She's being asked what she needs to heal. The courtroom leans in. Judge Judy asks, What do you need from her to feel whole again? The plaintiff exhales slowly, the kind of breath a person takes before reopening a wound. The courtroom holds still. Judge Judy waits, not for drama, but for honesty. The plaintiff looks at the defendant for a long, searching moment, not with anger. That ember burned itself out somewhere between the lies and the unraveling. What rests in her gaze now is something more difficult, more human. The ache of someone deciding whether forgiveness is even possible. Her voice trembles at first. "I needed you to take me seriously," she says. "You made me feel invisible, like my pain was something beneath you." The defendant lowers her eyes, shoulders collapsing inward. She wipes a tear, but another follows. Her voice is small when she whispers, "I know, and I'm sorry. I'm so sorry." But the apology does not erase the room's tension. It only shifts it. Narration tightens. Accountability is not an apology. It is a willingness to stand inside the harm you caused and not look away. The plaintiff continues, stronger now. "You didn't just lie to the court. You lied to me. You humiliated me. You acted like my dignity was something you could step on when you felt hurt." Each word lands softly, but with the precision of someone who has rehearsed these truths in silence for far too long. The defendant cries harder, her defenses finally gone. She clutches the podium as if steadying herself against the weight of everything she refused to carry until today. Judge Judy watches both women carefully. Her voice is calm, but anchored in unmistakable authority. "This is what accountability looks like," she says. "Not excuses, not performance, listening." The defendant nods, trembling. "I am listening. Please, tell me what I can do to make this right." A hush covers the courtroom. Everyone waits. Even the bailiff stands a little straighter, sensing the significance. The plaintiff hesitates, swallowing hard. Her eyes glisten, not from anger, but from the emotional exhaustion of finally being heard. "I don't want revenge," she says. "I just want you to understand what you did." The defendant nods again, tears slipping freely. "I do, I swear I do now." "Do you?" Judge Judy asks, cutting gently but sharply. Understanding requires more than regret. It requires responsibility. The defendant lifts her head, face streaked but sincere. "I am responsible. For all of it." Narration softens. This is not absolution. This is the beginning of consequence. The plaintiff inhales shakily, then speaks the words she has held inside. "I need acknowledgement, real acknowledgement, not just for the court, but for me." Judge Judy leans forward. "Then say it plainly. What did you do to her?" The defendant opens her mouth, but the words don't come easily. Her lips shake. Her breath catches as if she's standing at the edge of a truth she has never spoken aloud. Judge Judy's voice drops, slicing through her hesitation. "Say it, out loud, all of it." The defendant's silence stretches long enough for the courtroom to feel it, not avoidance this time, but surrender. Judge Judy watches her closely, waiting for the moment truth becomes choice rather than consequence. The defendant finally exhales, a trembling release that seems to drain the last of her resistance. When she lifts her head, her eyes are swollen, voice soft and scraped raw. "I hurt her," she says. "I lied to her. I lied about her, and I made her feel small because it made me feel bigger." The plaintiff closes her eyes. Not to shut the words out, but to let them land. Judge Judy nods slowly. Honesty is the first step. Accountability is the second. She turns her gaze to the plaintiff. "And the consequences must reflect what restores what was taken, dignity, not pride." The tension in the room shifts. The sharp edges soften, replaced by something steadier, quieter, a recognition that justice can happen without cruelty, but never without truth. The defendant wipes her face. She no longer tries to hide her tears. "I don't want to be that person anymore," she whispers. "I don't want to hurt people just because I'm hurting. I'm tired of pretending." Narration eases the moment into focus. Punishment breaks people, but accountability rebuilds them. This courtroom has always known the difference. Judge Judy's tone becomes gentler, but no less firm. "You cannot undo what you did, but you can decide what you do next, and that begins with acknowledging the impact, not just your intent." The plaintiff steps forward, shoulders shaking but voice steady. I want her to understand how deeply this affected me, not to punish her. I don't want her destroyed, but I do need her to feel the weight of what she put me through. The defendant nods, each motion small but sincere. I do, she whispers. I feel it now, all of it. Judge Judy leans forward, hands clasped. Then here is what justice will look like today. You will compensate her for the damages you caused. You will submit a formal written apology acknowledging your wrongdoing. And you will participate in mediation to ensure this never escalates again. The defendant nods again, relief and remorse braided together across her expression. Yes, she says quickly. Yes, I'll do all of that. The plaintiff's breath releases, not joy, not triumph, but closure. Narration deepens. Justice is not the gavel. It is the moment two fractured truths finally align. Judge Judy looks at the defendant with a soft but unmistakable sternness. You are receiving leniency not because you deserve it, but because she asked for humanity instead of vengeance. The defendant's eyes shine with gratitude and guilt. Thank you, she whispers to the plaintiff, for being kinder to me than I was to you. A quiet stillness blankets the courtroom, the aftermath of a storm, the quiet where growth begins. Judge Judy clears her throat. But before I announce the final ruling, she says, I need to hear one more thing. The defendant tenses, breath catching. Judge Judy asks, what have you learned from this? Enough that I can trust you won't repeat it? Before you hear the final verdict, ask yourself, can people truly change, or do they just hide their flaws better? She stands straighter now, not with pride, but with the fragile posture of someone finally choosing honesty over image. Judge Judy watches her closely, measuring not the performance, but the transformation. The defendant inhales shakily, wipes the final streak of mascara from beneath her eyes, and meets the plaintiff's gaze without flinching. For the first time today, she looks present, not posturing, not deflecting, not pretending. Just present. I learned, she begins quietly, that pain doesn't give me permission to hurt other people, and that telling a story that makes me the hero doesn't make it true. She swallows hard, voice trembling. I learned that the person I was trying to protect didn't deserve protecting. Judge Judy nods once, not encouraging, but acknowledging the difference between words meant to manipulate and words meant to grow. And, the judge asks, what will you do differently? The defendant closes her eyes briefly, then opens them with new steadiness. I'll stop blaming other people for my mistakes. I'll stop assuming I'm above consequences. And if I'm hurting, I'll say it honestly instead of turning it into a weapon. The plaintiff listens with tears in her eyes, not tears of sympathy, but relief. Relief that the harm done to her has finally been named, finally been understood, finally stopped. Narration softens, widening the emotional lens. Justice is not the moment truth is forced out. It is the moment truth is accepted. And this courtroom has finally reached that moment. Judge Judy exhales a slow, deliberate breath. Then she straightens, voice firm and clear, the sound of resolution washing through the room. Here is my ruling. The courtroom leans forward. You will compensate the plaintiff fully for the losses you caused. You will issue a written apology acknowledging your actions and their impact. No excuses, no deflection, no rewriting of history. And you will participate in mediation as directed to ensure there is no further conflict. The defendant nods, accepting every word without protest. A fragile gratitude flickers in her expression for the chance to repair what she broke, and perhaps for the first time, to grow past the person who caused the damage. Judge Judy continues, this court believes in accountability, but it also believes in the possibility of change if it is earned through humility, not demanded through privilege. The plaintiff lets out a relieved, trembling breath. She wipes her own tears, the burden she carried for so long finally loosening its grip. She nods at the defendant, not forgiving everything, but acknowledging the beginning of something more honest than what came before. The defendant whispers, thank you, for still seeing me as someone who can do better. Judge Judy's gaze sharpens just slightly. I'm not seeing who you can be. I'm seeing who you chose to be today. A pause falls, gentle and full. Narration closes the scene. No gavel is needed. The truth has already struck. Judge Judy folds her hands, and with a final, quiet authority, she delivers the line that settles over the courtroom like a moral signature. The law always applies, especially to those who believe it does not.